Hey everybody, welcome back to Lettermen Row. I'm Austin Ward. That is Spencer Holbrook, and it is day two of reality of no college football this fall for Ohio State and the Big Ten. One of the big questions that Spencer Holbrook tackling for us at Lettermen Row is what happens now with the NFL draft eligible Buckeyes, their decisions. Some of them are old enough to be graduate, or they're graduate transfers. They have a degree. Maybe they could consider trying to go somewhere else if the SEC, ACC, or Big 12 are really intent on playing, which seems like a gamble to me because it's unlikely that will happen. They could also declare immediately for the draft and go train. Some players have already made that choice at other schools. Also, Spencer, have an intriguing option that Ryan Day laid out for them for the next 4 or 5 months that involves maybe training, maybe playing, but keeps them on campus throughout this semester.
It almost seems like a hybrid option, right? You get to stay on campus, you get to train with Mickey Marotti, you get to do everything that the team's doing to make yourself better. You get free meals, you get your free testing, stay safe, you're in a semi-bubble. And by the way, if you don't want to play, that's okay because you can still train and go to the NFL. If you do want to play, hey, we might have an option for you in January. It seems like the perfect plan. Obviously, I'm not the one in the position. If they hire an agent and do that kind of thing, I don't know what that would mean for them being in the building all the time, but you never know. You'd have to find out. There's a lot more questions than there are answers right now.
Yeah, and a lot of these players, when they do this, they spend 3 months getting ready for the combine. That's that January to April window. Well, you might get your agent to front you that money. Sometimes you don't have to pay it back. Sometimes you do. That's coming out of your pocket. So it would seem like the choice, that's only going to apply where you don't need to worry about it if you're a sure first-round pick. Shaun Wade or Justin Fields, Wyatt Davis, maybe that's no issue for them, and they could spend the next 4 months paying their own way to train. Staying on scholarship, to me, would seem like the right way to go. You have Mickey Marotti, no finer strength coach anywhere in the country. You mentioned all the meals. They could continue to meet. I think the expectation is that Ohio State will and the Big Ten teams will have those 20-hour work weeks so they could continue to go in and break down film and, get some of that football knowledge, football IQ, as Ryan Day called it in his press conference on Wednesday. That, to me, seems like a no-brainer. So maybe we won't see a flood of declarations for the NFL draft right now for the Buckeyes. They may still elect to skip a potential spring season. We don't know exactly. But the amount of guys, the specific guys that we're talking about, the field kind of expands here a little bit beyond the obvious ones that we've talked about. So if we're playing that stay or leave go, I think we all know what's going to happen eventually with Justin Fields, Wade, Wyatt Davis, Josh Myers, couple other guys that we could mix in there. But what do you think will happen here with some of these decisions, Spencer?
Well, I think one thing to keep in mind is like most of the guys when they declare, they're going to 3 places. They go to Miami, they go to Dallas, or they go to Los Angeles. Well, if there are 3 places that I wouldn't want to be for the coronavirus right now, it's probably Los Angeles, Miami, and Dallas. So like I think there is a little bit of faith Ryan Day has that these guys are going to stay put because they know they're in a safe environment. They know they're in a safe situation. But I think there are going to be guys that maybe haven't even really started. If they do think that they have a shot to be, to put up crazy numbers at the combine, I think you could see some of these guys really surprise fans and head to the NFL. Without a season, you don't really know what the future of the entire sport looks like. So there might be guys who are just banking on their athleticism, betting on themselves, and getting to the league.
Yeah, so that's the interesting part for Ohio State as it tries to get ready, whether it's a spring season that has some sort of postseason beyond just a Big Ten championship, those plans are still being formulated. It would be in the best interest of the Big Ten to get those done as soon as possible if you want to keep these players in your league for that spring. But if you're looking ahead to the next time where we know there should be a college football playoff in fall of 2021, would a guy like Josh Proctor continue to wait without having ever been a starter for Ohio State, but everyone knowing his potential? Tyreek Smith is a little bit different case. We know what he's capable of when he's fully healthy. Still hasn't had that chance to really show why people have considered him a potential first-round pick since the day he committed. But, that's another one. How about Taraja Mitchell without really ever playing defense, but still being a freakish, physical player? These juniors they're the ones that are really going to be interesting. You also could throw Jeremy Rucker in there, Sevin Banks, Cameron Brown. Those guys need to play, but they also would be going into a really unique NFL draft situation where, nobody else will have had film either. So maybe the physical combine opportunities would give them an edge. I don't know, but there's so much mystery about what would happen here. If somebody like Rucker would be a lot easier, Chris Olave would be a lot easier to sell that. But these guys, I mean, the eligibility, they might get that year back, but the 3-year count out of high school to make them eligible for the draft, that's not stopping.
No, and I think that's a really good point to bring up, because these guys are the top of college athletes. Like, even though they've never played, even some of them have never really played defense, like Taraja Mitchell. Everyone knows, though, when you are a linebacker and you're in the mix at Ohio State, you are one of the top athletes in college football. So for you to bet on yourself, put your name in there, go do your pro day, it's almost like part of me says it's a no-brainer, but then the other part of me says you need film, because it's going to be the most unique challenge these scouts have ever had. And I think it's going to cause even more nitpicking because they don't have film to rely on, to fall back on. So it's a double-edged sword, because you want to get to the league and you want to show that you can do this and bet on yourself. But at the same time, I think this is going to be the most tedious draft process we've ever seen. And so I think these guys are going to have a really, really tough decision to make.
I think that they also need, and this is a broken record, they need help and guidance from the Big Ten and the NCAA, which usually comes a little too slowly and too late. College basketball has already recognized the fact that it's in their best interest to give players the option to withdraw their name, go through the process, potentially even work with an agent, and then make the decision to come back. There's been discussion about that amongst, the oversight rules committee in college football, that if a player goes undrafted or doesn't even like where they're drafted, that what is the harm in letting them come back? I don't know if this will be the impetus to change that and speed up the process, but for this particular year where we don't know what the film opportunity is going to be like, the chance to play games, the NFL wants to have as much knowledge as it possibly can. I don't see how there's any reason they wouldn't be supportive of moving back a draft or trying to accommodate any way they can. They've been able to take a free ride off of this, minor league setup without paying for it long enough. I think they need to probably help out any way that they can, but it's really fascinating to watch this, because we don't know what will motivate every player. Justin Fields said just last week that he wasn't in a hurry to get to the money, that his family is in a comfortable situation and he wanted to play the games. Now, will that still be true if the schedule is January to March, or if Jeff Brom gets his way and it starts in late February and goes, out into April? I can't see that really working for a number of reasons, but at least what Ryan Day wants is the option put on the table for these guys.
And I think the get drafted or go through the process and come back is something that if college athletes really are serious about these demands and everything like that, they should put that in there. They've got a lot of education reform in there, the 6-year eligibility, so some guys can get their master's degrees. All of those proposals that they put out there, I think the NFL draft decisions would be a common sense one, like one of the most common sense ones to put in there. But the other point, in reading Jeff Brom's proposal, I think Ohio State would be in trouble, because I think that's a situation where a lot of those guys, they almost have to leave, because you can't play a season from March to May or February to May, go straight into a rookie mini camp, actually straight into it, and then just start playing in September, playing against 33, 34-year-old guys like that. I just don't think that's even possible. And so if that were to be the case, I think Ohio State would be in serious trouble as far as depth, as far as, who's going to be on the roster. You're going to play a lot of these younger guys, and I think you might struggle a little bit, honestly, because I just think that would be way overwhelming. I think there's a push by Ohio State to get this season in starting in January, and there's a huge reason for that. I think the NFL is a big reason for that.
Yeah, we'll actually have time later on this week at Lettermen Row to dive into the Jeff Brom proposal, compare how that works with what Ohio State would like to see, and the Big Ten subcommittees go to work again, trying to find a way to play college football
again,
and get a schedule in.
Again,
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, we know that they did something, right? We just don't know what they accomplished in time for this season. But that's a conversation for another show here at Lettermen Row. Spencer Holbrook, appreciate him diving in to lay out some of these options for Ohio State and the NFL draft-eligible Buckeyes. We'll try and keep our eyes on that as we do everything related to Ohio State and Big Ten football at LettermenRow.com. For Spencer, I'm Austin Ward. We'll see you next time.